Kick back, have a sit, turn it up, get your fix. Time to upgrade, augment, but stay real, this the naked patient. Come by, the doc is in, you'll understand why it's good to be Nick. Like a tattoo, these words stick. All net, never throwing up bricks. Let's grow together through the weather, we can make a dent. Authentic people sharing stories, hope that it clicks. No need to dress it up, this is real as it gets. Let's strip it down, this the naked patient, yeah.
First of all, with me today is Mr. Zack Moreno.
Howdy.
His brother Jonah has been on this podcast before. And Jonah's a friend of mine from Watt, but that's kind of how you and I met too, just through Jonah.
Yeah, oh yeah. I like meeting people through Jonah. Jonah's a great dude. He knows how to pick friends. I love everybody who Jonah introduces me to.
Jonah does pick good ones.
Yeah.
And I think that goes hand in hand too. Like people pick Jonah because Jonah's a good.
Yeah, I guess it works out that way, huh?
Let's come back to that, but like, tell me that again. What you were talking about, nature kind of provides this reflective, perspective.
I'm grateful I live in Utah actually, because it provides all the seasons, and then it shows like nothing's stagnant, everything can change, and that helps me actually. A lot of times I resist the winter time. I get the winter blues. I get depressed or whatever, or when I don't embrace that everything is changing and I just want it to be summer all the time. That's when I get that depressed, and but understanding how everything changes and watching the leaves fall off and watching them change colors and watching them die, it's actually beautiful, and then crumble off, and then snow just like blankets the land. Oh, it's so cool.
Dude, I love the seasons. That was the thing I missed the most. I was in Houston for 10 years.
Oh, cool.
And I miss the mountains and I miss the seasons, because Houston, it's hot and then a little less hot.
Yeah, humid.
And that was it. Like there's just no real spring, no true fall. And here we have such beautiful, like distinct 4 seasons.
Yeah.
And I just love it.
Yeah, that's cool. You're going to be able to just go hang out in the change.
I'm excited. I just love seeing the colors, and you reminded me of this lesson that this guy taught me once. This is from my mission.
Okay, cool.
I served a mission in Russia.
Holy smokes.
Super cool. And this dude, like I remember sitting there on a bench once, and it was fall, and the leaves were all falling off the tree. And there were some stragglers though that weren't falling off. And I made comment to this guy, man, look at these ones. These are the strong, badass leaves. Like these leaves are just holding on for dear life. Like good for them. That's super cool to see. And he says, "Oh no, you are grossly mistaken." I said, "Whoa. What do you mean? Like they're holding on." He says, "Those leaves that don't fall off, because they don't fall off the tree, they will not leave space or room for a new bud next spring. Whoa. That will become a bald spot on that tree." And he then goes on to just like blow me away with this lesson for life, where he just says, when we hold on to things too tightly and we don't let go because we're scared of change, there's no room for growth in our life. And I was like, holy shit. Cause I was so like excited in my way. Look at this strong little leaf.
Yeah.
And I have gone back and thought about that lesson so many times in my life, because there's been so many times in my life where I have held on to things too tightly, whether it was a relationship or a goal or a business
or belief
or a dream. And holding on too tightly really at the end of the day crippled me. And if I would have just let go of that thing sooner, I would have had so much more room and opportunity for growth.
I love that so much, actually.
Isn't that wild?
You're right, because if I'm thinking that I'm right about this thing, and I don't allow its space to become what it is, what it could be. I don't allow its potential. That's so cool. Yeah. What a cool lesson.
Anyway,
holy smokes.
Thanks for reminding me of that, dude.
Yeah. Well, springtime is beautiful because of that. It's like everything was dead a second ago, and then life just sprouted out of literally the nothingness. But if I held firm that it was all dead and it couldn't come back to life, that's doesn't allow it to blossom.
I love too that you just came in here and you just took your shoes off and you got like bare feet on this rug.
Well, the rug was calling me out. It's fuzzy and nice.
It makes me, I love it. Just like, this is, I don't know. It's like you're coming in here and grounding yourself, man.
Yeah. Well, I don't typically wear shoes. I didn't know what kind of facility I was walking into, but I kind of raw dog life that way.
Where does that come from?
I actually used to be a sneakerhead, so I had a lot of shoes. I was always on the sneakers app, getting the drops, like, you know, waking up on time to I was getting pre-release, you know, Travis Scott lows. I was like a real shoe guy.
And were you like turning around and selling them and making profit?
Well, sometimes I actually really enjoyed wearing them. I used them to flex. I actually really liked to, this is a guilty confession, but I like to get a new shoe and then go to the mall and then walk into Foot Locker specifically, because then I knew all the employees were just going to hype me up and I'd feel really good about myself.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, that's just a confession for you. Long story short, I used to be a sneakerhead, and I actually read a bunch of stuff. I like to read books. I read a bunch of stuff about how that could potentially be crippling my foot, and I didn't know what that meant. But I tried it, and I heard about grounding and things like that. And then when I started leaning into more of like an intuitive style of stretching and things like that, I started to open my foot up, and like my splay became more wide in my foot, and it wasn't as like a church shoe pointed. Yeah. You know, my feet were all messed up. And then I realized as it was opening up, I could feel tension being released in my leg, all up my leg, down the back of my calf, all the way up into my lower back.
Oh, dang.
And I mean, it's over the course of a lot of time.
Do you wear those like toe spreader things?
No, I actually have never dabbled.
Dude, my buddies
freaked me out a little bit.
I know, my buddy sent them to me. They're really uncomfortable.
Okay, I figured it's just like
it looks like a little like ours is blue. It's like a blue plastic crystal, and you like put it in between your toes, kind of like you would have if you went and got a pedicure. Okay. Like theirs are like, they put the little foam spreaders to keep your toes from touch. This one though is like hard plastic, and it spreads it way wider, and it's uncomfortable. But my buddy Dan swears by, he's like, you wear these at night, it's gonna, just what you said, it's gonna splay your toes out, and it's gonna help align your foot better, release tension, and it can even make your back feel better. And I have not done it.
Well, I've never tried that. Maybe that's a step I could take, but I feel comfortable. Like my back, my alignment, my posture feels a lot better. It just improved my quality of life. I'm gonna get in on this. Yeah, pop the puppies out.
I'm gonna get in on this. Did you tell Mark you like to read books before you went on his podcast?
I didn't dare. I heard it. I heard his stance on books. Actually, he brought a book up, and I was like, "Oh, no way! You like a book?"
I love giving him a hard time. Here's the truth. The truth of the matter is, Mark hates self-help books. Other like books in general. He doesn't have like a hatred for books in general. He just does not like this whole avenue of self-help books.
I could see that.
And I think mostly because after you read a few of them, you're like, there's not a lot of new content here.
Repackaged.
Yeah, a lot of it's repackaged. A lot of it's just different spin. There are very few that I think are like truly groundbreaking and interesting. And Mark also has this ability to like shrink something down to like one simple thing.
Oh yeah.
And just really make you mad that you spent hours reading the entire book.
Yeah. Well, why didn't you just go do this? It's like, why did you read the book? Why didn't you go do this? Oh, you're right.
Yeah, like Atomic Habits, which I loved, which is a great self-help book. Thought it was great. And he's like, yeah, you just like form little habits.
You're like, oh, I hate that you said that, but you're right.
That's all you got to do. Just like form little habits, keep doing the same thing over and over, and, you know, just get a little bit better every day. God damn it.
Do you have books that you like?
I love to read.
Oh, cool.
I have always loved to read anything.
Oh, sweet.
I'm kind of in a little bit of a sci-fi fantasy kick right now. A lot of last year I was like diving into like self-help, personal development. And this year though, I've just been like, I'm going to read what I want, like whatever comes my way that interests me. And so I've read a lot of books on dragons and magic.
Oh, cool.
And,
That's awesome.
And just, I like it.
Sweet. Does it like what? I guess my question is like, what makes you like books? Is it a good passing of time, or is it like something about the book?
Both. I fully appreciate like a good story. I like where a good story takes me.
Oh, cool.
I like to feel like I gain or learn something from just about everything that I read. Like even as something as simple as Harry Potter. Right.
I take you as that kind of guy without books, actually. Just like life in general, you're like always learning, it seems like, or like applying or taking it in. Yeah,
I'm just curious, and I like to just know and get new things. Like Harry Potter is one of the best books we have on friendship and love and family.
Whoa.
It is.
I never thought of it that way. Yeah. You're right.
And it's a beautiful story. And so for me, those are the things that I like. And is it an escape at times too? Yeah, absolutely. Like it's the great thing about stories is you can escape a little bit. I mean, that's why they call it fantasy.
Yeah. You're right. I just heard recently that reading fantasy books at nighttime is one of the best things you can do because it activates that creativity and then sets you into like a deep sleep, but also gives you some awesome dreams.
I like that.
Yeah. It helps you sleep a little deeper that way.
I think it's funny that there's this big like resurgence of fantasy coming in right now because all of a sudden a lot of authors are like writing sex and like highly sexual content within their fantasy. So now you have all of these like repressed moms who are at home reading ACOTAR and like loving life. And I have no problem with it. Like, it's great. We need stories.
Absolutely. My wife went on a bender with those. I think she finished the whole. I mean, if you stack them on top of each other, it's like this.
Oh, yeah.
But she finished in like 5 days, the whole thing.
Oh God. Which is great. And that one I have not gotten into. I read really quickly, and one that became popular was the Fourth Wing series.
Oh yeah. Cool.
Which is funny because it was on Fourth Wing. It's kind of like, Hunger Games, but with dragons.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So these kids go to school to learn how to be dragon riders. And in the background, there's like this war going on and they're getting pulled into this war. And 2/3 of the book, there's these two characters who have some sexual tension between them. And the whole time it's building up to it. You know, they're going to get together. And so at the very end of this chapter, like 2/3 of the way through the book, they finally kiss. And I finished the chapter thinking, like this next chapter will be like they woke up in bed together or something. No, the next chapter is like 16 pages of them having sex.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Using like the powers of their dragon.
Oh. In the act
during the
whoa dragon sex. That's so cool.
And like I'm like 4 pages in, Haley's sitting next to me in bed and she looks over, she's like, are you good? I'm like, I don't know, I think I'm gonna need a minute. And anyway,
that's awesome.
But it's not
you're making me want to read it.
Fourth Wing's a pretty good one.
That's cool.
And everything, dude. I classical literature, love. Like Dickens is one of my absolute favorites.
Sweet.
I very rarely read something twice.
Okay.
There are very few books that I enjoy enough that I will pick it up again.
Have you ever?
Oh yeah. There are some. So my absolute favorite author, his name is David Mitchell. The book that he's famous for, like his magnum opus, is Cloud Atlas, which they turned into a movie that I enjoy, but did not get reviewed very well.
Bummer. Did you enjoy it because you knew the story or like the book?
Yes. I think if more people had read Cloud Atlas, they would understand the movie. And it's an absolutely beautiful story. But he wrote another one called Black Swan Green. And Black Swan Green is my absolute favorite book of all time.
Whoa.
And it is a short book. It's a couple hundred pages. And it's the story of a 13-year-old boy lives over in England. And it's basically a year of his life while his parents are going through divorce. Wow. Which kind of hit me close to home because my parents divorced when I was about 16. And it's just like a classic coming of age story, and fascinated me, loved it, and I recommend it to everybody.
Oh, that's cool. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
I'll put it on my little list.
Do it. Black Swan Green. It's a good one.
Black Swan Green. Speaking of pedicures.
Yes, sir. This one's coming.
You got one. You're all painted up.
This one is needs a touch up here soon. All right. Too much about me, Zach. Let's get into you a little bit.
Okay.
Talk to me about your Instagram handle.
It's a boy in a grill.
I love it.
A boy in a grill. Yeah. We that's kind of like at one point in my life, I was going through this time when I had shoulder surgeries and I was really isolated, and it felt really alone. So as a way to try to get, and I just had a daughter, and it was like, what am I doing with my life right now? In a good way with the daughter, but not in like everything else. It felt like it was all crumbling. And I got a Traeger, and that grill just kind of like brought community back into my life. It really sparked it back up. So it was kind of my identity. I was just a boy in a grill, and that's kind of how the handle came about. Yeah. And it's also a little play on words, and it's kind of fun. Yeah. And I've ran with it. I've been doing it since 2017. So I'm about 7 years deep, just cooking barbecue and bringing people together.
Yeah. You host like a big party every year.
Yeah. We've got one that's really consistent. It's Memorial Day, and I try to throw it out on Instagram and just bring everybody possible. There's a lot of people in Utah. I don't know what it is, but in Utah, there's a lot of people who've maybe been displaced from their family, or they come here for school, or they come here for whatever reason, work. You know, we got the Silicon Slopes, all this opportunity out here where they don't have a lot of family time. So I'm actually trying to transition it into not only Memorial Day, but I want to do every holiday big. I want to do big feasts and bring anyone who doesn't have family, or even if they do have family, become part of our big family.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It would feel really good. And it does feel really good. And it's not that I'm like trying to be the guy who cooks, but after I'm done cooking, when I'm walking around, I just see people eating the food, enjoying themselves. Yeah. It's like a watering hole, right? It feels like that, where like a little oasis where everybody from anywhere and any career, anything can show up, and there's no like trying to get something out of it. The point of a barbecue is just to sit there and eat and have fun. Yeah. And it feels good providing that and watching it all happen. And then from there's been networking, there's been relationships built, there's been like marriages that have come from just a barbecue and people meeting each other. Yeah.
Did you treat yourself? Did you teach yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, I never cooked anything. I actually didn't even know how to cook eggs until I was in my 20s. I never cooked anything. I did Hot Pockets and Foster Farms corn dogs. Like that was my diet growing up. And but it truly was out of nowhere. My wife was shocked. I said, I want to grill. She said, what? You've never cooked anything. And we were in a little small apartment complex, and I only had real estate maybe the size of the rug to work with. Basement. So I had to get a really tiny thing. The reason I went with Traeger is because they didn't allow open flame. So I kind of justified it with the electric plug.
So is this the same? Are you still using the same one, or have you upgraded?
I still have it. I still have the same one, the OG. It's still in my house and still works 7 years later. And it's cooked for so many mouths. But I have maybe 7 Traegers now.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I've got 3 of them in my house, and then I've parked a couple of them at my parents' house. I don't have a backyard for 7 Traegers. Yeah. But yeah, I love it. They've got the flat top that I like to griddle on too, or I can sear things off there. Yeah. Smoke on the Traeger and then sear it off over here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't gotten one of the Blackstone ones yet, but they've.
Do you smoke meats and all that? Okay, cool.
I love my Traeger, dude.
Nice. What do you like to eat?
So I do. here's the thing. Everybody says they do a really good tri-tip.
Right. That is like the number one thing I hear.
Mine will blow anybody's out of the water.
Okay, cool.
The reason, let me tell you, you want to know what's funny?
The confidence.
You want to know why I love your handle?
Why is that?
My favorite blog, like the favorite blog that I follow to like learn how to cook and smoke and do meats, is called Hey Grill Hey.
Oh yeah, she's awesome.
She's so cool.
Susie, right?
Yeah.
She's really cool.
And so I just was drawn to it because the handle. I'm like, oh my god, this is. I love play on words and like the greatest thing ever. And she does she cooks a tri-tip the way she cooks a brisket.
Oh, so you do like I think it's called a Trisket.
Yeah, it's very, very low.
I've never done that.
And you have to. So you have the hardest part about it is you have to find a fatty tri-tip. So it can't be just like your run of the mill, very lean tri-tip. You need a tri-tip that's got a lot of fat on it.
Where do you pick that up usually?
Costco usually will have, like if you dig through the ones at Costco, you might find like a good fatty one. You can also ask the butcher to keep the fat cap on it.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And you just keep that. And then I'll put a pan of water in the Traeger with it. Cause again, you don't want this thing drying out. And I run it really low, like right around 210. 220 until it hits 165 internal. I'll like mop it every 30 minutes. A very simple like rub. It's just like mustard as a binder, and then salt, pepper, paprika. And then I'll mop it. Like the mop sauce stuff I'll like play around with. Usually
you make your own?
Yeah, usually I'll do like cold brew coffee, a can of beer, and then maybe some barbecue sauce in there too. Like,
whoa,
dude, I'll mess around with it.
That's really cool.
And then once it hits 165, you wrap it just like you would a brisket. And then you turn it up to about 250, 260 until it hits your 203 temp. Pull it off.
Just like a brisket.
Rest it.
Holy smokes.
It will fall apart like a brisket too. It's really so damn good.
I've got to try that.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
What's your favorite
I heard
thing
that
to cook?
coffee was a natural meat tenderizer.
Yeah.
It makes it nice and soft.
Yeah.
They have like coffee rubs that you can put on.
Yeah,
ground coffee.
Yeah, the Traeger coffee rub's really a good one.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Tell me, what's your favorite thing to cook?
Oh, man. Lately, let's see. My favorite thing, I've been liking whole birds. I actually like whole chickens.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've been trying to dial it in a little bit more because I had a hard time on the Traeger getting the skin to be crispy. It would come out soggy and my temperatures would be a little bit off. But I wouldn't say that's my favorite thing to cook of all time. But lately, that's just what I've been obsessed with.
How do you do it?
So I spatchcock it. It's my favorite word in barbecue.
Love it.
But you know what it is. You just cut the spine out and then splay it open and push it down, kind of break things open. So it gives it, what it does is it gives it a more even cooking surface. Yeah. So it's not just like this big round thing, and the breasts are done way after the thighs or whatever, vice versa. And so you open it up and then it just gives it this even playing field to cook. Yeah. I like to do that. Put some butter under the skin. Yeah, I'm just licking my lips just thinking about it.
We gotta go cook, man.
I'm a freak for butter though. I'll put that on everything.
Dude, everybody should.
Yep.
And you know what? It's good for you.
We should cook, by the way.
We should. I'm in.
That'd be fun.
I'm absolutely in. Jonah and I just had steak Wednesday night.
Oh, cool.
Well, I had steak. Jonah had, what did Jonah get? He got ribs.
Okay, where'd you guys go?
We went to this place called Blind Rabbit.
Never heard of it.
It's owned by the guys who do Sol Agave.
Okay, I love that place.
Yeah, and but this one's more. It's still kind of. It's like a Spanish tilt. Like there's like a Latino flair, but it's like a meat market, like a Spanish meat market style restaurant.
No way.
So they have really good cocktails, and then like honestly, like one of the best ribeyes I've ever had. And most of the time, I'll go to a steakhouse and I will be like, I could make this better at home for half the price.
I hate that feeling too.
Yes.
It sucks.
It makes it so, but this one, they finish it in like a jalapeno butter.
What?
And it was just.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Mind blowing. Like Haley looks over, she's like, whoa, you're supposed to give me a bite of that. I'm like, oh, sorry, baby.
That gave me the chills. That probably did what happened to you when you were reading the dragon sex. I'm a little bit aroused.
Just reading meat porn
about jalapeno butter ribeyes.
Dude, for me, So you found this Traeger. Like, what sparked that idea? Like, I want to grill.
It honestly was kind of the loneliness, but I just started posting things. I was actually working at Delta Airlines throwing bags when that happened. And I would record videos at home, and then when I was at work, I would actually just work on the videos and post them. I'd never done Instagram before. Yeah. I'd never had a niche before. I'd never like had an identity on any of this kind of stuff before. I was still trying to like run some hoodies business that I was doing. I did that for a long time, and just felt a little bit lost. So it was a cool step. And then what I found in the grilling world was a community, not like the community that I would bring, like neighbors, family. Yeah. There's a whole community of grilling people that now I'm best friends with, and they live all over the world.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's really awesome.
You just reached out to them on social media, and
yeah, you just kind of connect. I don't know. It's a really cool, open world. And then Traeger does a really good job of bringing the community together. So once a year they have like a summit, and they'll bring in people that are affiliated with Traeger. And I've been grateful and lucky enough to be there and get to meet some of these like influencers.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to make friends online and then meet them in real life.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's surreal. Because they have a personality that they portray on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then meeting them in real life, sometimes it's like, wait a minute. Most of the time it's like, well, you're actually way cooler. You could like really lean into who you are instead of just posting me, you know?
Who would be your dream person from that world to meet?
Oh, dream person from that. Well, dude, what a good question.
Maybe you've met him.
I have met some really amazing people through just grilling. It's crazy. Like athletes, you know, people who we wouldn't think are actually just grilling.
Yeah.
But you meet them, and then I don't know. That's what I mean by it's a oasis or like some sort of watering hole. It's people from everywhere just like have this one similar thing in common, that they just like to grill.
Yeah.
Or maybe they like to be outside. That's another aspect of grilling that is so cool to me. Cooking outdoors.
Absolutely.
I get to be outside and cook, you know. I love that. But oh man, what a good question. Who would I like to meet?
I'll tell you mine. What you think yours?
Guga.
Stanley.
You ever heard Guga?
Guga?
Yeah, you ever heard of him? Guga Foods. He's hilarious. You gotta pull him up.
Pull Guga
because he does crazy things. Like he'll
Guga.
Yeah, that's it. And it's kind of his voice that I'll just watch the crap out of his
Guga
Instagram.
Foods. 1 million followers. Good Lord.
He's good at what he does.
Okay.
He's entertaining, and then he'll dry age meat in tons of different things, and then he'll try them out in front of you just to show if it's good or not. I just feel like he'd be a fun guy to hang out with.
Bro, you and I are so simpatico on some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What kind of stuff?
I think just being like a little bit obsessed with like the cooking world and and just wanting to try new and different things. Mine would Stanley Tucci for me.
Stanley Tucci.
So Stanley Tucci's an actor.
Okay.
And he's like a famous actor. He's married to Emily Blunt's sister. So whoa. John Krasinski's like his brother-in-law.
How do you spell Tucci?
Tucci.
Yes,
yep. You'll recognize him. He was in Devil Wears Prada.
7 million.
I'm telling he's a big dude.
Guy. Oh yeah.
He was in a ton of movies that you've seen him. He's never like the main guy. He's always like a supporting actor.
Okay.
And here's the thing. He, during quarantine, just started posting videos of him making a cocktail or cooking a meal.
Oh, no way.
And it just blew up. Whoa. He has since written 2 books about food, and he did a series on CNN called Searching for Italy. And the whole point of the series is there's like 20 regions throughout Italy, and each episode he goes to a different region and he dives into the food of that region and the history and like why why the food has affected that region the way it has.
Oh, whoa. That's interesting.
And my dream trip would be to go to Italy, like just go to these regions and go to the places he's shows on the show.
Okay, yeah, like a food tour.
Anyway.
Well, it's a little bit more than a food tour. It sounds like it's food and culture like mixed together. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I like that. Oh, there's another guy who I really like. but he's not really in the grilling world, but he's food. And his account is Sandwiches of History. And you bringing up the history just really made me think about that. But he'll go through old cookbooks and just make these sandwiches. And he rates them on a scale of 1 to 10, and then he attempts to plus it up. It's a great account, and the guy's got just a lot of charisma. I like the way he talks.
So I cooked some stuff from Salt Hank. Have you seen Salt Hank?
No.
Ever? He is a dude who like he got famous off of a steak sandwich that he did. And his videos are really pretty.
Is it the ones where they're just like slapping everything together?
Yeah.
I love those.
And his videos are super pretty, and I cooked one of his meals. It was so good, and I was like, sent him like this DM, and I never heard back.
Oh shoot, that's the worst.
Okay. That's okay.
That happened to me with John Stockton in real life, dude. Oh, one of the worst things ever. We got off of an airplane, and I was like, "That's John Stockton." I grew up playing basketball like because of John Stockton, Utah. He was like my idol.
Yeah.
And he like got me into dribbling and passing and things like that. And the first time I'd ever seen him in real life, and the lady next to me on the flight is actually the one. He's like, "That's John Stockton."
Yeah.
As he's walking into the plane, and I'm like, I'm going to talk to him. So we both kind of went and talked to him, me and the lady. And I got like Heisman stiff armed by John Stockton, dude. I'm like, "Hey, Utah, huge fan. I've always loved you." Just straight palm to the face. It hurt, man. It hurt.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard he's kind of like that, though.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, and he can be like that now, you know. Yeah. Whatever. It's all right. I survived. It. Yeah, I didn't.
So I got. It's interesting that you say like loneliness is kind of what drove that for you. It was same for me. Like,
the cooking?
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
I got divorced when I had about 2 years of residency training left, and up until that time, I didn't cook. I had a wife who acted like she was actually a pretty dang good cook, and that was I just never really did. Even on my mission, we didn't do much. I had a companion who would cook a lot, and it was fun when I was with him because he'd make us really good food, but I didn't know how. And so when I got divorced, it was like, well, what am I going to do? And for me, I like to dive in. I like to dive into something super complex and try to figure it out.
Okay. Like your career?
Yeah, for sure. And like growing up, I loved to do like really big jigsaw puzzles. Oh, sweet. And like really complex Lego sets. And I like this idea of like creating something out of a complex situation. And so
like feeling like you did that.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I figured this out.
That's awesome.
And so I just started cooking, and cooking became this like, respite for me for the shit I was going through.
Oh, that's so cool. That gave me the chills.
Yeah. And I just got to like figure stuff out and learn what was good and what wasn't. And now I love, like I cook almost every meal at our home.
Oh, that's awesome.
And Haley will every now and then, but she knows that I like to. And so she'll sous chef for me, just cut stuff up and sit and chat with me and hang in the kitchen while I cook.
What a cool way to spend time together.
Oh, it's so good.
It's proximity, talking, actually working toward a mutual goal. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. And you're right. Cooking is something that you just like, there's no skill cap. None. You will always, every cook feels like a new opportunity to prove maybe something that like a failure last time. It's like, okay, I realized that was a failure last time, learning opportunity, implementing something else. The dish comes out better every single time.
Yeah. What's I asked you your favorite thing to cook, but what is the one thing that you've made that you're like, oh my gosh, that was the best thing I've ever made?
Man. Beef ribs.
Okay.
Beef ribs. And it took me a minute, but dude, it was good for a couple reasons. First of all, it was mind blowing. Like the presentation is crazy. It just looks like this big old dinosaur bone.
Yeah.
Huge. And then just a big old slab of beautiful meat. And when you cut it, and if it's good, you have a thick pink smoke ring on the outside, nice crust on the like the really outside, and then just juicy meat. You can squeeze it and it just like juices out. That's so satisfying. And then biting into it and then it tastes good. It's just, it's like the best experience. One of the better experiences in barbecue for me. Dude, but another thing actually was pork belly burnt in mac and cheese.
Oh, yeah. Freaking pork belly is so good.
Oh, it's so good. Have you ever done pork belly burnt ends?
Not the burnt ends. It sounds amazing.
Well, either way, it still has the pork belly flavor in it.
Yeah.
But the only thing that the burnt ends does is it caramelizes a little bit of sugar to it and some barbecue sauce and butter. You cube it up and then throw it in after a long smoke. Then you cube it up, throw brown sugar, honey, some more of the seasoning sauce, and then some barbecue sauce. Mix it together and then let it set for another like hour or two.
Yeah.
And then they call it barbecue candy because it's just these little squishy bits. Oh, so good. Oh my goodness. Oh, and then the consistency is like butter. So you bite into it and the whole thing melts. In your mouth,
yeah.
Oh, compliments the mac and cheese so much.
Dude, you are making my mouth water.
What about you though?
Ooh, there's this one thing that I made and I don't know how to, I've tried to make it since a couple times and it's just not turned out well. And it was a pork belly.
Oh, nice.
But it's like, that's the way Gordon Ramsay does a pork belly. And he'll he buys a whole pork belly, scores the skin, puts salt in it. And then it's pretty simple. He sautés or he'll sear it a little bit. And then he'll roast it in like wine with fennel and onion and all this other spices. There's like anise and coriander in there.
Lots of spices.
And then you take it out and cut it up, and the first time I was like, oh my God, it's so good. And it's similar, like same consistency, the skin and everything is caramelized and everything else just melts. And I've tried it a couple more times and it just has not turned out as well.
Dang.
I know.
Dang. That's something about pork I really like is how versatile it is. You can just add some sort of flavor. It's kind of a bland meat, but then you can really doll it up and make it whatever you want.
Oh yeah.
That's fun. Have you ever had disasters?
Dude,
like disaster cooks?
All the time. Dude, I had one of this last weekend on Sunday that I made this, it was like this chicken and biscuit stew thing, and it was a fucking Ina Garten recipe, and I don't like Ina Garten, and I should have known. And
that's the worst.
And I was like, oh, this looks good and simple. Like, I'll make a little casserole dinner for me and the kids and Haley, and it was just bland, no flavor.
No.
And I was like, oh, this is terrible. Yeah.
Oh, that's a bummer.
But every now and then you get one that just doesn't hit.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have full blown disaster. Like I've had my Traegers catch on fire without me being right there attentive.
Yeah,
and my whole side paneling of my house is just like baconed out, like all wavy and brown.
You'll have to ask Mark to tell you about the tomahawks he cooked at his house once.
Is it a good story?
You will appreciate it. Did not go well.
No, that's so. Just kind of relating that to life, I guess. Something I really appreciate about you is we had a conversation once and you talked to me about like radical acceptance, basically, is kind of what I took from it. Mm-hmm. It's just like your life is what it is. Like everything you've done in the past, just accept it and keep moving forward. And that I've actually reflected on that so many times since you said that. And it's something I'm going through right now, but with cooking, it's extremely prominent. Like if I could beat myself up over this, or I could learn from it and move on and accept it. Like, yeah, I messed up.
Yeah.
And I can move on and cook better next time, forgive myself a little bit.
How else is that applied in your life?
Man. Well, this has been actually one of the worst weeks of my life. Not going to lie. It's been one of the hardest weeks ever for me. So in my relationship right now, I'm doing a lot of radical acceptance and it's been inspired by you, man. So I'm actually really grateful for you. And it hurts, because there's been things in my life personally that I've just maybe pushed under the rug or just didn't want to believe. And it's crazy to me that it's been going on for so long, but I just didn't believe it, or I had other intentions in my life. Like, no, I'm a good guy. How could, like, there's no way I'm not doing that on purpose or something like that. But just looking at it for what it is, taking a little step back and just being like, oh man, I've fucked up everywhere so often. But it wasn't until I could see things that way that I could just love myself for trying and for, I guess just being there. And now I can love myself for getting rid of the lie and stepping more fully into myself, just like the seasons, right when we started. I can change, but I couldn't change unless I accepted how things were. And I've been holding on to just some, other version of me that I thought I was Mr. Cool Guy, Mr. Entitled maybe, or things like that, that I can see and take a big breath and step past it, not be that way anymore,
How do you get through a week like that? Like when it just seems like
I don't know, man.
everything's...
I'm in the middle of it.
I know.
But
what are the things that you do to keep going?
I like to talk. I like to talk with people like you. I like to read and implement. So the reading's another reason. This is another reason I like reading, is because I can see aspects in the book about a main character or any character. I put myself as I'm walking in this guy's shoes, whatever book I'm reading. So it's not like a self-help, like you need to do this, but I'll read a book about a story and I'll put myself as that character. And I'm the one who's going through all the challenges. As I'm reading this, it's not like Frodo, it's Zack who's returning the ring, and whatever the ring is symbolically is what I'm doing. And that's what's prominent in my life right now. So right now it's this acceptance so I can be a better husband specifically. I've been really bad lately, and showing up more fully and more authentically as a father too. And that's my ring right now that I'm working on. But sometimes I find myself in the Shire. Sometimes I find myself like almost done with the journey, but then I realize, what does almost done even mean?
Nothing. It's just, you just keep climbing the mountain.
Yeah.
Man.
So life is full of good examples who keep climbing that mountain. I guess sometimes I keep climbing the mountain and I'm banging my head against a mountain, but turning around and seeing like how far I've climbed up, it feels good. So maybe things like that, giving myself a little perspective of taking a picnic where I'm at and turning around and seeing how far I have come.
Yeah. Maybe
that could help me get through weeks,
Yeah. I think those are big, important things.
What helps you?
So a buddy of mine asked me this question a few weeks ago. He said, as I have done more of this like personal work and this kind of like working on myself type of stuff, he says a lot of people keep using this word remember. And he's like, so what I have equated that to is I think I need to remember who I am, remember that I am worthy of love, that I am somebody who loves me. And he says, some days that's hard. Some days that's really hard for me to remember. And he said, how do you remember? And I kind of sat and I thought about it. Like nobody's ever asked me that question before. And if you know anything about me, like a lot of my friends will joke with me because I am constantly telling them like new epiphanies that I had.
I love that.
And
I'm very similar. And I feel like I'm annoying the heck out of everybody.
oh, dude, they're just like, oh God, Nick's got a new epiphany. What? Tell me, Mark, all the time, what blew your mind today, Nick? And that I think is how I remember. I think sharing my thoughts and my story with others is how I remember.
Whoa.
And that's my practice for remembering that I am worthy, that I'm loved, that I am somebody who deserves love, is just continually sharing and relating those epiphanies to anybody who listens.
I like that. Yeah, because when I do go down like a self-critical path or something like that, I tend to isolate, and then I stop sharing. I stop sharing this. It's just like, why would I share this? And what gives me the authority even to, or like, what makes me think that this is even important to anybody? Because I'm just being hypercritical, you know?
Yeah, because you're important.
Thank you. That's really cool.
It is. Why? And we, you know, it's similar to that adage, like where people say, you know, you want to like serve, like service will get you out of that mindset. And for me, I think that's just kind of my method of serving. Like I do this podcast for a very selfish reason. I do this podcast because it's therapy for me.
Oh, awesome.
Like I know that people have come on this podcast and have released their stories and have talked about difficult things, and it's been a great thing for that person. But selfishly for me, like this is therapy for me every single time I do it. And I get something out of it. Like remembering that little like leaf story. I haven't thought about that in years, and you brought that out of me. So thank you.
Yeah, man.
Like, I don't know what this is going to do for you today, but it gave me that.
It helps. Like I said, I really value your perspective on stuff. And that goes hand in hand with kind of like your career. It seems like it's more like, it's kind of like outer beauty and inner beauty, how they correlate. I know they're pretty much the exact same thing. When your inner beauty is shining, your outer beauty, or everything looks good on the outside, you know?
Absolutely.
Everything is on the outside is a reflection of your inner state, things like that.
Absolutely.
That's cool. You get to help people there, and you get to help people here.
Yeah, I love it.
That's awesome. Like, you're like dedicated to beauty, man. You are dedicated to beauty. That's really cool. Yeah, it's actually awesome.
100%.
It's a cool way to live.
What are you going to do going into next week?
I keep my head high, and I have a pretty cool routine right now that's been keeping me grounded. I like to, just be outside in the sun. That fills me up. I feel love when I get in the sun, actually. Yeah. The sun is it's a symbol for me of unconditional love, because it's always there. I can always count on it coming up. And when I get in the sun, I like to, I'll just say I like to be in the sun completely naked. I like to just like expose myself to as much love as I can get. Okay. And there's a practice where I'll go outside and I'll just smile as I warm up. Mm-hmm. And that alone, just like, it melts all the things that like, maybe we have a similar head where we think a lot, and I can tend to think too much about something and go down a rabbit hole pretty deep. Mm-hmm. But the sun just erases it. It like blanks my mind. And then when I smile into that, and I can take a couple big breaths, and when I breathe in, I try to breathe in the heat. Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't know, man. I like the sun. Simple things have just been keeping me grounded. I don't have any extreme ideas right now, but just trying to get my feet underneath me.
What would you do if that one thing that you counted on the most and relied on the most wasn't there? Like, what if we went through like some biblical loss of the sun for weeks? Like, what then?
I think, this is going to sound maybe cheesy, but I think I would try to emulate what the sun did for me and just push that into this world, like be that unconditional love for myself, but also for other people. But I can only be that unconditional love if I do it for myself first.
You see that?
You're right, man. That's cool. Thanks for asking that question.
Yeah. We take a lot of external things sometimes and rely on those.
Yeah.
And
it's not like the sun does that for everybody.
Yeah. And the problem with that, and that's beautiful what the sun does for you. But the problem with relying on external things to validate our internal well-being and self is what happens when those get taken away.
Yeah, you're right.
This is why you suffer from seasonal depression, because the sun's not out as much.
Yeah, no, I'm not in it as much.
You're not in it as much. I can't just be naked in the snow, man. So unless you find a way to take what that is and have it within you, and you create it, and it's yours, it's just, you're in trouble. I remember sitting down at lunch with my brother, and I've shared the story on the podcast before, but I sat down at lunch with my brother, and he was just like, man, it's so good to see you so happy. I'm like, thanks, man. That means a lot to me. He says, yeah, I just love you found Haley, this woman who just like makes you so happy. And I was like, hold the phone here. I said, Haley's great. Don't get me wrong. Like, love of my life, soulmate, all that. Haley doesn't have shit to do with this.
Oh, that's beautiful.
This is all me. And if Haley goes away tomorrow, I will be fine. I will be fine. I will love me, and I will be this happy still because I'm good and I know I'm good, and I don't need any external validation to prove that to me. I don't need money in my bank account. I don't need a car in my driveway or a girl in my bed to tell me or validate that feeling that I'm good.
That's so cool. Well, plus it does such a massive disservice if you're going to rely on Haley for your happiness.
Yeah.
Because then it's like she can only do so much. Like you can't make another person happy.
Yeah. No,
that would put unreal expectations on her.
100%.
And that would be bad. Maybe I'm doing a little bit of that, man.
Yeah. That's what. And it's so funny that we started off with like this analogy of like holding on to stuff too tightly, because it's like feels like a little bit of what you're going through right now.
I think so. And I just got to let go and find happiness on my own, really. Or like become that.
Yeah. It's just, people laugh because it's, we do this. I make my kids tell themselves they love themselves in the mirror all the time.
I like that.
Every day. And it drives them crazy, but they know it works. And this is not like, we talk about this stuff and people write self-help books about this stuff. And we get this idea that it's this easy woo-woo thing where I just got to say, I love you in the mirror enough times. And all of a sudden I'm like, boom, I'm good. I'm happy. Yay. No, like this is constant, absolutely constant. I have to do things for me every single day to just continue to prove and validate and remember that that's there. But it is, and I know it is, but it's a constant work.
That's so cool. It is a constant work, and it seems like I can apply it no matter how often I apply it to something. Then I apply it to that thing, and I feel like I figured it out, or something like that. Not that I've actually figured it out, but then it's like I get tested again in another world, or another another day. Literally, another day is just another. Hey, how much are you going to love yourself today? Or how much love are you going to inject into this world today? Are you going to show up like the sun today? You're going to warm up? Yeah. It's another opportunity to love.
Yeah. There's another thing that, I'm going to butcher his name. I can't think of his last name. He's going to kill me. His first name's Todd. His Instagram handle's Todd Inspires. And he shares a story about, you get what you give, and he relates it to this scripture that God is love. And he, in his therapy with people, has people start, like he tells this beautiful story about this kid who was just struggling, was bullied at school and didn't want to live. And he tells him, I want you to start saying something kind to people at school every day. Like give somebody a compliment. So this kid decided to just like go and post up like 30 minutes before school, and he would open the door for people as they came into school, and he would pay them like a genuine compliment as they came in. Like, hey, I really like your backpack. Hey, those shoes are dope. Hair's looking good today. And over time, depression went away. His attitude about life like picked up immensely, and he became just this happy, loving kid. Like he got what he gave.
He probably got some friends too.
Exactly. And so the more like even when you're not feeling it, the more love you pour into the world, the more you're going to get back.
I like that. And what does that look like? How do you put love in the world?
For me,
yeah, I guess.
Or is you asking the question, John? I
don't know.
I think you got to figure it out.
I'm really curious.
Yeah, find out what it is for you. You already do it.
Yeah, maybe I'm just being Mr. Hypercritical self. Yeah, like...
Dude, you create communities
do that, huh?
These watering holes and these amazing barbecues where people have come together, and you have two kids.
4 kids.
Holy crap, you have 4 kids in this world. And
That's a lot of kids.
You have opportunities every single day to pour a tremendous amount of love into the world. Whether it's from your cooking or your stories or just talking to somebody, or like throughout this podcast, you've given me compliment after compliment, all love.
I like that. I just need to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that feels good. Yeah, my kids are kind of like some love that I put into the world. I actually am trying to be a better dad for that reason, so that they know that they are loved and they can love and that they are loved.
Yeah.
And they are kind of like a manifestation of love in this world, an injection even. They're incredible. We had 4 kids ages 4 and under. We just shotgunned them into this world. Yeah. My daughter's, she's amazing. 7 years old. And then I had a set of twins, 5 each. And then a 3-year-old, he turns 3 this next week.
You get your hands full, man.
Yeah, we do. And it's fun, man. Some cool kids. How many kids you have?
2. My daughter's 17. My son is 12.
It's awesome.
And I have come to realize that they need 2 things. They need to know that they're safe, and they need to know that they're loved. That's it. If I give them those 2 things, they're good.
They can do anything.
They can do anything they want.
Man.
And sometimes you got to remind them. Sometimes you got to show them. But it's safety, love. That's it.
That's good to remember. I mean, that's not like a self-help book of you need to do this. That's safety and love, man. Like you can show up and provide that. Oh, and as you show up and say, hey, this is how I'm going to provide safety and love today. It's just like cooking. Maybe you fail. The next time you serve up that dish, though, it's going to be really good. A lot better than last time.
There you go.
So that's how we continue to show up in love, huh?
Absolutely.
Just keep trying, and the failures are just a little recipe tweak.
Yep, that's it.
I like that.
Thanks for coming on the podcast, buddy.
Dude, thank you. This has been awesome.
Love you, man.
Love you too.
Thank you so much for listening to The Naked Patient Beyond the Operating Room. I'm Dr. Nicholas Howland. Please remember that every patient who appears on this podcast has consented to discuss their story and their surgery on the podcast. That way we remain HIPAA compliant. This is a free podcast. The best thing that you can do for us is to leave us a review online. Let us know what you liked. Let us know what you'd like to hear. Let us know how we can improve. If you are curious about anything related to plastic surgery, you can reach out to me on Instagram at Dr. Nicholas Howland, and I typically respond there, or you can reach us at the office at 801-571-2020, or we have an online form you can fill out at the website, www.howlandplasticsurgery.com. Any of our coordinators would be happy to help you. Thanks again for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Naked Patient Podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode. Till next time.